Hi, I'm Torte de Lini. Finally, patch 7.37e is out, and it's everything I dreamed about, except it isn't. But there are some nice changes in there to really suppress the bullshit heroes like Lina, Sand King, Shadow Fiend, while also buffing my favorite heroes that I continue to spam and win with ease. It's definitely not the biggest patch, but I also know they didn't want to really completely tear down everything they had achieved or everything they set in terms of meta in 7.37. For really what it is. It's a very fast meta where things kind of end in about 30 minutes. They just wanted to make room for other picks while removing some of the more dominant core heroes. So heroes like Bounty Hunter, Ogre Magi, really good Nyx Assassin, Lich, Puck are still really good heroes. But let's talk about the top 10 changes I recommend checking out for patch 7.37e. Right, let's break it down. Number 1 is Ringmaster. Still has no facet, but he has an ag scepter, and it's a whopper. Your escaped ag now comes with 2 charges, and when the box finishes saving your ally or even yourself, it deals 300 magic damage to enemies and throws 8 impalement art daggers in all directions, and you can do that twice. So 600 damage, and you chain the daggers to do health-based percentage damage. Do I think he can now be a carry or even a mid laner with that? I doubt it, but it's definitely a cool late game item that deals some pretty massive damage. Don't forget also that you have talents at 15 and 20 that buff impalement arts, so there's something noteworthy there for sure. His spotlight ag shard ability also got buffed, and it's actually pretty significantly better in terms of, you know, covering more ground, and concurrently it doesn't really feel like you're whipping it out, and sometimes it'll be on your target and sometimes not, but rather it now covers a good size of an AoE in case of your opponent's kind of, you know, changing position. Number 2, so I was definitely hoping for more nerfs for Lina. Right now she's pretty oppressive because there's nothing really standing in the way from dealing so much damage early on with points and Lucent Beam, and then rolling teams over in 30 minutes flat with insane farming from her Moonglaves. Since that all scales from her Lunar Blessing passive ability, that's now a free innate ability right from the get-go. That said, having her level 15 and talents, level 15 and 20 talents changed means that her scaling Lucent Beam damage comes much later. It's obviously very welcomed. For sure, it makes picking a level 20 talent probably a difficult choice for her, but honestly I would probably choose the level I would probably choose the 110 Lucent Beam damage, because that scales with your Eclipse cooldown at 15. Cool. Number 3, Shadow Fiend. Another annoying carry that would end the game in 30 freaking minutes. So previously, Shadow Fiend's lasting presence actually had a lasting presence where even when the hero died, he still reduced the armor of enemies near him if he snagged the kill before dying. Now that's no more. They also reduced his necromastery damage in terms of scaling. So per soul, by level 2 you had like a power spike where he'd gain like 3 damage per soul. It's now just 2. So the one thing he had going for him has been significantly nerfed, right? He doesn't really have that good scaling in terms of health. That said, they did buff his Feast of Souls, so now you can get 5 extra souls for the duration of the buff, but it still costs 5 souls to cast it, so you lose 5, but you can gain back up to 10. It gets pretty insane attack speed as well at max levels from 7 to 90, so that's something, I guess. I mean, I don't think it changes all that much for Shadow Fiend, quite frankly. He's kind of a momentum hero. Snowballs really hard if he doesn't die, so I think these nerfs aren't that brutal, and the Feast of Soul changes could be really good. I'm curious to see if this is as interesting as it appears to be. Okay, let's talk about Medusa as number 4, right? I think yep, number 4. Medusa's Venomous Volley no longer has a poison that applies to her split shot. I don't understand why that facet applied a split shot effect when every other facet or every other effect requires a level 25 talent for it to occur, right? Ayascati, Daedalus, these items don't have their effect applied to your split shot arrows unless you had the level 25 talent, but because it's an innate facet, I guess, I don't know, it didn't require that level 25 talent. But thankfully that is fixed, and yes, it does scale with split shot now too, but you were maxing that out first anyway, so it's minor. The facet change of split shot now dealing 5% less damage definitely hurts her at all periods of the game, as it lowers her farming speed, item timing, and overall damage output, with players now buying items like Sanj and Kaya for more efficient mana shield. It means she needs one more item to be truly online and ready to fight, and thus her timing is delayed, with it taking longer to reach her preferred item status. So games might be longer when you play Medusa. Halfway through, we're up to Shadow Demon, right? Number 5, half the reason these popular position 1 carries are so popular is because they have Shadow Demon up their ass, feeding them massive amounts of value. The hero saves them from half the spells that would disable them with Disruption and triples their damage output with that same spell. Disruption, basically. What's worse is Demonic Purge completely shuts down rivaling enemy playmakers, so Shadow Demon just tipped the scales on whichever team he was on. Honestly, a bullshit hero. He's gone for like 90% of the year, and then the last 10% he ends up showing up and just absolutely dominating the field. He was nerfed in the previous patch in 7.37c and I think 7.37b as well, because his promulgate facet was pretty oppressive as well. So this is kind of just wrapping up what was needed to be done to put this hero back on a level that scales with levels, right? Disruption bonus damage was scaled, making it higher at later levels and weaker earlier on, which punishes how he was being played now, with Disruption usually being maxed last. So I don't think it really changes that much for him, but it's a welcome change for sure. Definitely curious to see if all these things kind of mount up to games going longer than 30 minutes, and more importantly, not being complete snowballing stomps. Coolio, Sand King. So the Sand King Sand Shroud facet is pretty subtle that you might not really realize until you play him, and then you're going to get mad. So I'll just spell it out for you. The duration for his facet Sand Shroud, which gave him the invisibility when he was using Sandstorm, has a shorter duration and slightly more damage now earlier on, not later on. So that shorter duration effectively means that you can't chain Sandstorm anymore until your max level, whereas before it was at level 3 where you can just chain it. So Sand King's laning is going to be much more difficult, especially if he is cut off early from his Sandstorm channeling. That's pretty much it. So it's pretty significant in terms of his laning, which was a very important and essential piece of his build up to eventually dominating fights with Blink Dagger and Bloodstone, excuse me. Curious to see if it's going to affect mostly just pub players or also at the higher levels as well. So what is this, number 6, right? I think I can't keep count. I put top 10, but honestly I don't count at all. Maybe you will for me. This is actually a pretty cool change for Elder Titan. The deconstruction facet change is pretty massive. For starters, the facet sounded pretty good on paper, right? It drains armor and magic resistance up to 20 times. The longer someone was in kind of your AoE or within the range of Elder Titan. But if someone left your AoE, it would basically entirely reset the countdown, and didn't make it worthwhile when the hero is regularly going in and out of fights. So previously, all versions of Elder Titan preferred his momentum facet, which gave better attack speed when his movement speed was increased. However, now deconstruction is now not as punishing as before if the hero leaves or the enemy gets out of range momentarily, right? You can just pick it up with a few stacks lost. Really nice change. I'm hoping to see more Elder Titan. I think the hero's always been underrated and kind of an enigma like Visage for a lot of players, but he's definitely very good. So if you watched my video on Lycan, you know he's kind of my go-to MVP last patch, and them buffing him again means he's still my MVP, man. I don't care about the Spirit Wolves, just ignore that crap. That shit's garbage. His item timer for Helmet Overlord was already pretty great because I go the pack leader facet, which means that all your units have both the haste and crit that Lycan has when he shapeshifts. But now with the Apex Predator, which basically gave him more damage on neutral creeps, he can get an even earlier timing. The more popular facet is obviously usually for Alpha Wolves, which buffs up your wolves and lets them do a variety of different additional spells. It also has some speed and slows, but I suspect basically this Apex Predator change will only further that popularity for Alpha Wolves or even Pack Leader. Definitely a strong hero. I'm surprised they gave him even better timing on his items, because man, he's really good. Him and Beastmaster are very good. Okay, someone is definitely watching my stream, because there are only 2 heroes I play on stream when I just don't want to give a shit. It's Lycan and it's Lina Magic. I don't do that, Glipnir, Mjolnir, right click Lina. I want to just kill my opponents and get the hell out of there. But someone at Valve is watching my stream, and they feel really bad for me because I'm basically the only player that's playing Lina as Magic. And this Ag Shard was basically not needed, but I'll take it. I don't care. The current Lina build is pretty much all gas, no brakes, right? You build Ag Scepter for the 7 immediate fiery soul stacks. You get 35% magic spell amplification, and an Ag Shard now well, previously, but now even better, the spell damage increase per change. So if you get a full combo off someone, off an enemy, you're doing something like 2,000 damage at 17 to 20 minutes. So it's pretty insane. Also, Kaya Yasha is pretty popular if you don't get the Shadow Blade. Yeah, you can go with Ethereal Blade. It's also a popular one because the Aether Lens gives you additional range, which means you can land your Light Strike Array much easier or much more simply. So yeah, I guess I'm playing more Lina because damn, shit, I didn't know they would buff that hero again. Okay, your favorite brain dead hero, Warlock, is now shifting to its second gear of difficulty. Warlock imps no longer explode if it killed by enemy heroes. A massive nerf for a hero where you could enjoy Day 9 playing Factorio on one stream, and the other you'd be summoning your little imps of upheaval as they march out to the tune of Sorcerer's Apprentice. Now anyone with the right click on their mouse can finally stop the incessant bullying from Warlock. It's a sad day for all those Herald Warlock players. I know a couple already on my stream that are gonna talk to me about how they're not destroying their opponents anymore. Pretty funny. So that's, I think, 10 changes. So in my opinion, I think this patch doesn't really massively shake things up, but I do recognize that it curbs down a lot of position 1 heroes while barely touching supports that enable these heroes to win. So the supports can still be regularly picked, and hopefully we'll see some diversity for position 1 carries. I still think the mid lane is a huge problem where the same 5 heroes continue to be the most important, but that's more to do with the state of the game and map rather than this specific meta related. Hey, thanks for watching. Want to take the time out of this video to mention that if you enjoy my content, please consider supporting me by subscribing or even becoming a paying member. For 11 years, I have provided free in-game Dota 2 guides for my love of the game, but I think like most of us, as I get older, my time and financial availability makes this more and more difficult to maintain. If you trusted the support of my guides throughout your time in Dota 2, consider supporting me here or even subscribing on my Twitch channel. Would appreciate it. Thank you.